Director of Operations has been expecting you and would like to take a few moments to explain to you the workings of our Mission Control Center. Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, all of the passengers for Flight 295 are now ready and waiting in the boarding area.
Thank you. Welcome to Mission Control, space travelers. The first part of your trip to Mars today will be directed through this room, and so will your landing when you return to Earth. As you can see on the large screen behind me, we're keeping track of things on one of our many manned space stations now in orbit, while the small screens below show other activities being monitored by Mission Control. I'll have them repeated on the upper screens for you also.
SSL, this is instrumentation.
Roger. SBO, start part recorders and TV video tape recorders.
Now on the large screen again, you see a sign as to board the space station at the controls of a large telescope trained on the sun. This kind of solar research was begun back in the early 1970s by the Skylab astronauts. And time-lapse pictures from space like this are revealing new facts about how the sun produces energy, which may help us solve some of our own energy problems on Earth. This is a very interesting part of the station, where special manufacturing processes are carried out under weightless conditions. Here you see a close-up picture of a groove being melted in a stainless steel plate. Done in zero-G conditions, this imparts a quality to the metal we can't get under Earth gravity.
Mission Control, this is Spacelab 09. Stand by for new video on the channel.
And now through an onboard microscope and time-lapse camera, we can see the white crystals form in zero-G.
Capcom, this is Spacelab 09. Request to transmit this report to crystal energy lab hospital. 09, this is Capcom. Roger your request. Relay to the Capcom. 09.
These space-grown crystals are so pure that they're going to bring revolutionary advances in electronics, which will benefit every one of us. In fact, they're so...
Attention! All channels for possible emergency re-entry.
Oh no, not again.
Stand by. Video signal coming in on all channels.
Just as I thought. Somehow, this silly bird touched the emergency system every time he comes in. And I think he knows the laughs on us.
Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, can you take a few moments and explain to our passengers a little bit about the effects of zero gravity on our astronauts in space?
Of course, just a moment. Patch us into the Skylab video net place. Now there you see how easy it is to get from one place to another. You simply float through the air. That takes some getting used to. But zero-G has other advantages too. Like this, for example. One man can easily handle heavy pieces of scientific equipment that he couldn't even move under normal gravity. Astronauts quickly adapt to zero-G, but over extended periods, regular exercise is absolutely vital. Here are some off-duty crew members working out in the station gymnasium.
This exercise period, all ECGs are
It's fun, but it isn't always as easy as it looks, as you can see. With a little practice, though, you can do tricks that would make a circus acrobat turn green with envy.
All personnel switch to channel number 2 for status.
Work communication status is go. Global network status is go. Instrumentation go. Disneyland Flight 295 to Mars is now ready for boarding on gate number 3. Go.
SBO.
Now on the large monitor, you can see your spacecraft waiting on the launch pad. Countdown is in progress and all systems are go. Have a good flight.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, Flight 295 is now ready for boarding. If you please follow me down the hall.
All right, we do get to sit down. Down. Go down as close to the front as you get. Second.
Flight 295 on your mission to Mars. The captain has requested that you please remain seated at all times, and please no smoking, refreshments, or flash photography at any time during your flight. Now please sit well back into your seats and prepare for blast off.
Attention, please. Folks, this is Sir Officer Collins speaking. I'm your tour guide today, and I'll be telling you about what's going on during the trip. Right now, we're on final countdown, and you can watch our liftoff on the lower screen in your cabin. I'll speak to you again after we're in space.
Mission Control, this is Mars 295, ready for departure. 295, roger. Countdown is go at T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just dropped our booster engines, and in a moment we'll make what we call a hyperspace jump, the new method of space travel which enables us to cover enormous distances in seconds. On the side screens, our ship's computer has drawn a diagram of our solar system, and we'll tip it over and move in closer so you can see where we're going. You'll notice that the orbital velocity of the planets is exaggerated, but as we approach the inner planets, you can see that they move at the proper relative speeds. Earth and Mars are anywhere from 35 million to 240 million miles apart at times, which used to make a trip to Mars pretty tricky. For example, spaceships had to follow a curved path for about 8 months to intercept Mars when it reached a certain spot. It was like having to hit a golf ball in California, hard enough and accurately enough to make it go through one particular window of a train arriving in Florida that much later. Today it's much easier. We simply launch out into space until we reach Mars Acquisition Velocity, or MAV. Then we generate a hyperspace field around us for a short time. When we switch it off, our spacecraft is approaching Mars. Back in the 70s and 80s, this would have seemed like science fiction, but today it's routine. And we...
Attention all stations, hyperspace penetration now commencing. Secure all ship operations. All stations, we are now in normal space mode. Resume all operations.
Well, folks, hyperspace jump is always interesting, to say the least. But we're back in the real universe again, and on the upper screen you can see Mars as it actually appears close up. The dark markings were once thought to be vegetation, but they're actually just large areas where rocky surface material has been swept clear of topsoil by high winds. Mars does have a very thin atmosphere, but it contains no oxygen. There's no liquid water at all, and temperatures are far below zero over most of the planet.
Attention all stations, outer lock is now open. Stand by to launch camera drones.
Those small unmanned rocket ships you see leading us will shortly be sending back television pictures as they fly into service, but we'll continue our view from orbit also. Through telescopic lenses, Mars looks even more barren, and there's definitely no sign of it being inhabited. As we know now, some things once thought to exist on Mars turned out to be only illusions, such as the famous Martian canals. But it does
superimposed outline of the United States will give you an idea of its size. Here's a closer view of the section of the rift one of our camera craft is approaching. In a few seconds, we'll have the picture it's sending back, so watch the side screens, please. There's the picture. Our camera ship is down in the rift now. Seen this close, it looks quite Earth-like, but it's hard to get the scale of things. The wall there is almost 4 miles high, and the floor is about 50 miles across at this point. Even those branch canyons you see are 6 or 7 miles wide and go back as much as 100 miles from the main rift. This is no little canal by any means. On the upper screen, we're switching to what is literally the high point of Mars, Olympus Mons, the biggest volcano in the whole universe, as far as we know now. It's 370 miles wide at the base and over 75,000 feet high at the top. 2.5 times more than Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. Now on the side screens is the picture from our other ship as it approaches the top of the cone. In just a moment it will drop down to the caldera and you can see how big it really is. On Earth the largest calderas are up to 10 miles across, but that's 40 miles to the opposite rim. Olympus appears to be extinct now, but just imagine what it was like when that entire area was a sea of boiling lava. Scientists estimate it was... Just a moment, please. Space Ground Control wants to signal the roll 2. Impact count is rising.
Ladies and gentlemen, our camera ship has been knocked out of control by a shower of meteoritic particles. We may encounter the same conditions.
Space Ground is in operation and damage to ground ACS. Emergency stand by for spaceport.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're returning to Earth immediately. Be prepared for another space jump.
Mission Control, this is Mars 295. We're terminating emergency space warp. Are we cleared straight in? 295, this is Mission Control. Affirmative, your last transmission. You are priority 1 for exit. All the control is locked on and we are calling your retro fire. 295.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we'll be on the ground soon. Everything's all right now, but that was a close call. Actually, the chances are millions to 1 against meeting another emergency like that. So please fly with us another time. There's a lot more to see on Mars. Now, please stand by for touchdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, the outer locks are now open and you may leave the spacecraft. Thank you for flying with all of us today. We hope to see you again soon.
If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, can I ask that you please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Doing so is like having a fast pass to new content as it becomes available, and lets me know that you appreciate my efforts.